everybody, Mike Naso here from podweather.com and IPR with an update on the tropics. Taking a look out there today, you can see we have a few systems still. Bertha is back up to a hurricane as it finally is moving on this image. We haven't been able to see it move this much in 24 hours in a long time. And elsewhere you can see we have our two invests, one off the southeast coast here that is looking quite possible to become a depression, and the other down here in the Caribbean that is an open wave, but it could still become a depression the next few days. Our Invest 95L moved over Central America, and it's currently here moving generally west-northwest. We're not going to have to deal with it, at least not right now, unless it were to move into the Bay of Campeche or back in the East Pac off Africa. Not looking like all that much out there. A few waves on the ITCZ, but nothing to be concerned with. Here's the latest on Hurricane Bertha as of 5 p.m. was at 37.6 north, 50.6 west, and by the way, at the speed it's moving now, 21 miles an hour, it's already starting to outrun its latitude here. Winds were 75 miles an hour, gusting to 90s, moving northeast at 21, as mentioned, 989 millibars, and it's expected to pull on out and weaken, become less tropical over time, but it is still a force to be reckoned with. You can see on the satellite image here a well-defined eye, and even though it's moved quite a bit in that loop, you can see the eye here as the sun hits it, a very favorable looking eye wrapping up good as a hurricane one last time before it heads out, and this time it doesn't appear that there's anything to stop it from heading out, so Bertha will be gone shortly. That is what will certainly be the case with it. Now in the Caribbean we have this invest we've been watching, and it's currently, if there is a center, which there isn't, but if there were one, it'd be initialized, moving generally west-northwest. The model spread has it hitting the Yucatan and moving towards northern Mexico. Earlier today they were further to the north, and again the weaker it stays, the further it's going to be west because of the low-level flow, which is gradually in this direction. And again, we've been watching it, and Recon went out there, and you can see it looks to have some sort of a spin right in this region if you look closely in there, but there does not appear to be a west wind. In other words, you have the flow in this direction, but it's not closed off to the west, in which case you do not have a closed circulation. Spinning along at a good rate though, and there's always a chance that something could wrap up, say, tomorrow or the next day, but right now Recon didn't find a thing, and certainly looking at it from the IR perspective, it is a formidable tropical wave, but there is an upper level low right in this region here, and that's kind of flaring it up, and then we have our invest in here. And what this should do is, what the models were showing is, if something did develop, kind of spurt it west, then northwest, and back west. So the track really could be anywhere within this region, and development could occur at any time if it organizes. Now up here off the southeast coast, you're going, what is this? Well, this is Invest 96L. This also has a high risk for development. You can see the models keep it close to the coast, maybe even move it inland here in the Carolinas. You can see the one model of the H-WRF has it making landfall on Long Island, and then up here in Connecticut, that would be a pretty nasty track, because by then they're sometimes becoming kind of extra tropical, and we wouldn't want to deal with that. Canadian has it making landfall in Nova Scotia. You can see a few of the BAMs down here further south, generally in a northeast direction, but again, it's just too early to tell with this. You can see on the visible satellite there, definite spin, and at the end, note the burst of convection. That is favorable for development, so this does have a shot at becoming a tropical system. And at this point, it's actually looking like this could have a better shot than our wave in the Caribbean. At least that may be the case. You can see radar shows some good rainfall and some definite rotation out there, but nothing extremely well defined. Sometimes these things need a few hours or a few days to really get wrapped up. Here's another view on the IR of it. Again, you can see it right there sitting off the southeast coast. There goes Hurricane Bertha. A pretty well defined eye again popped out with Bertha, as I showed you on that loop, but again it's heading out. Now the wind shear for all of our systems, the one in the Caribbean, that's getting into an area of more favorable wind shear. You can see here that you have the lower wind shear up here, lower down here, lower over here, and that is going to be an indication that this could still come back. Pretty low wind shear over our system off the southeast coast as well. The tendencies are easier to see, and you can see again lower wind shear in the western Caribbean and the Gulf towards its heading, and then pretty low wind shear right here off the Carolinas where our system's sitting. Look at how favorable it is in the central Atlantic. Within the next week or so, we could see a system move off Africa. Some of the long-range models show, and if conditions stay like this, it could be a significant tropical cyclone, so we'll want to watch that very carefully. Again, upper level divergence very strong over our system, lower level convergence strong over our invests, and of course you can see all three of our systems showing up pretty good on the vorticity. Of course, our hurricane pretty evident as well. Now, off Africa, there's not any tropical waves right now really to be concerned with, but as I mentioned, watch this in the next 4 or 5 days. We could get something brewing. Finally, in the East Pac, we have Aleda and Fausto. Aleda's down to 40 miles an hour, not an issue. You can see all this stable, cooler water, stable air, not going to be a factor anymore. But this is Hurricane Fausto. You can see sitting right there. And here's the latest on it. It was at 14.1 north, 108.4 west. Winds were 75 miles an hour, gusting to 90. It's moving west-northwest at 10. 987 millibars, classic 75, 987 Cat 1 hurricane. Expected to get up towards 100 miles an hour or so. And based on the latest satellite, that looks likely. A lot of times when you get these ragged eyes and generally developing features, the hurricane could peak out at around Cat 2 status, which is expected. So we're going to have to watch this very carefully over the next few days for high surf along the Mexican coast, but certainly not anything generally to be concerned about with the landfall of any type. Finally, that typhoon we were watching, it moved over Taiwan. It's now over China as a tropical storm. We're not going to have to deal with that, but still some bad weather. I'm Mike Naso from Pod Weather. I'll see you next time. Stay tuned.